Good Monday morning, everyone. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's October. It doesn't feel like October, but it's October. Allergies are killing all of us, but it is an exciting day. We're slowly getting to fall here, you guys. But you guys are listening to Author Talk with me, Amy, Russell, Valerie, and Peter. James is trying to get on. So in the meantime, let's talk about our weekends, you guys. One, it was a sad day. Our Saturday was a sad day for me. All of my teams lost, but it's okay. They're just teams. No big deal. But parent-teacher conferences are underway. Field trips are underway, you guys. Crazy, crazy times are happening. But my in-laws came in town, so I got to visit with them for a little bit. You know, just all fun, chaotic stuff. But I do have an update on my hot tub. We haven't done a hot tub update, so we're going to update. So, you know how I ordered 2 screens and la la la. Anyways, I got one returned, got my money back, yay. But the screen was the only problem. So now my hot tub works. So now I just have to get it moved. And I do have an update on that too. The girls have a long weekend coming up. So Josh said that we could move it. So I will be getting moved into my backyard this weekend. I don't know what day, but it is getting moved at some point. And then the electrician will come out. So we will be up full and functioning hopefully before the fall wintry season kicks off. But that's my weekend and an update. You guys, it was uneventful. So what all did you guys do this weekend? Wait, Peter, hey!
Hi, can you see me? Hi.
Yes, I can see you.
Great. Can you hear me too?
Yes, I can hear you and everything. Fantastic. I love it. We're just please. It's Monday, Peter. It's Monday. Yeah. We're just talking about our weekend. So what did you do this weekend?
What I did this weekend was I spent like a day and a half 2 days trying to sort out Microsoft had brought out a wonderful new system which managed to crash my Word and lose 2 days of my writing.
I did
a 9-mile run. I did a 9-mile run yesterday. I'm training for a half marathon. Half marathon, and I worked because I'm going on like a month's book tour starting this week. So I'm trying desperately to finish my next Ray Grace novel. So I spent most of the weekend working when Microsoft wasn't busy losing all my work for me.
Are you trying to get it back?
Where are you guys based?
So we're all actually in Texas. We're about an hour and a half from each other. So Russell and Valerie are in Houston, and I'm up here in College Station. So like an hour and a half northeast of Houston is where we're all at. But oh man,
I was there a few years ago on book tour. There's a great independent bookshop there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there are several for sure, but there is which one? What was the name of it? Was it like Blue Willow? Valerie, is that one? Or red?
Yeah, that is one.
Red one. Yeah,
there's Murder by the Book too.
That's the one.
Murder by the Book.
Yeah.
Good.
So Peter, when do you get runner's high? What mile when you're training do you get runner's high? Since we're still talking about the weekend.
Yeah, probably about 3-4 miles in for me.
3 or 4 miles? Are you kidding me? You are a very lucky man. I don't reach it till mile 16.
Wow, you do marathons?
Yes, but not anymore. But yes, when I trained, it was in fact, that was very frustrating. I had to wait till mile 16 to get runner's high.
My God, I'm impressed you get that far. I've never done a marathon. I've done quite a few half marathons.
You shouldn't. I recommend you do not do them.
Yeah, my wife's done 25. She's worked.
Oh, wow.
2 weeks time. But what I love I've run for years, and I listen to audiobooks when I'm running. I get through twice the number of books that way. And
that's dangerous.
I've got these great earbuds that you can still hear traffic and stuff.
Okay, good.
Nice. I love that. I get through twice as many books listening to audiobooks. I could probably get through like 3 a week versus like reading a book. It's been, I don't know, I've been in like a reading slump. It's been really hard to like read a physical book. I'd rather listen to it currently. So I can see how running and just listening to a book would kind of motivate me to keep going for sure. But Valerie, Russell, what did you guys do this weekend?
Valerie.
Okay. Okay. Well, I kind of started on Thursday, but Friday was dead. But no, Thursday we went to see
That
Drunk
sounds a good weekend.
Dracula
Does it
by the
just
Drunk Shakespeare Society. Hilarious. Love that. It's a live performance, and they bend Bram Stoker's work a little bit, take some liberties with the story. They threw in Buffy the Vampire this time instead of Van Helsing, and the Conqueror. But it's really really silly. And then we went to see Art Tech House. It's a big light art installation. So by Friday, I was like ready to just chillax and get ready for the big market day on Saturday because it's kickoff season for all the big fall festivals in town. So I was out there with a church festival, the one I've been going to for years and years, and just connecting with the community, selling some books, just having a great day, having a great day. And then by the end of the day, I was dead by the allergies. I was like, somebody give me like a whole tub of NyQuil. But it was good.
Allergies
It
are
was really
rough.
good. Yeah. That
Russell,
was
what
it.
about
That was
you?
it.
Okay, this is weird, but I'm weird.
We
So
know.
all night, I know, right? All night last night, I was dreaming one particular part of my next book, and I was dreaming it over and over and over and over and over. And I don't feel like I really slept last night because after every sequence, I would wake up and have to go back to sleep, and then I would dream the same thing over again. It was very disturbing. And that was the biggest thing that happened to me all weekend because that's the thing that I'm going to carry with me all week as I try to write it down before it fades too quickly away from me is uh, that scene that I kept repeating in my head last night. Was
Was it
awful.
like book related or what kind of scene was it again?
It was okay. So, Peter, in my books, I have a know it all, ne'er do well detective named OC. And in the next book, uh, the uh, part part of the book is how he was the hero in the last book, how he is destroyed in the public in the next book. And that's what I dreamed about. It was just weird. And the whole argument against him. That's what I was dreaming last night. And it took like two cycles of the dream before I realized what I was dreaming. And then I went back to sleep and I dreamed it again. It's the strangest thing that ever happened to me.
have you ever
I think I'm a little
have you ever dreamt of an idea for a book or dreamt a solution to a problem you're having in a book?
I dreamed before any of my books were published, the antagonist to my books, while I was doing character development, came to me one night in a dream, grabbed me by the throat, and said, "That's not my name. My name is Marilyn." I woke up the next morning, Peter, and told my wife, "I dreamed about Marilyn last night." And my wife said, "Who's Marilyn?"
You know the
Eh,
you know the guy who invented the sewing machine. That the solution to it came into him in a dream. I think his name was Howe,
I believe it.
he'd figured this sewing machine out, but the one thing he couldn't work out was how did the needle carry the cotton through the garment and then back out through it. And that was the one thing that completely stumped him for months and months. And then he had his dream that he was in the jungle and he was captured by cannibals, and they put him in a cooking pot. Then they lit a fire under it, and the water was getting hotter. And he thought, "I don't want to be in here." And he jumped out and ran into the jungle. And they chased after him. And they were throwing spears at him. The spears landed on the ground all around him. And he looked at them, and he saw that they had a hole in the barbed bit. And he woke up and thought, "Of course, he put the hole the other end of the needle in the pointed
Nice.
bit." And he had it.
That's crazy.
Nice.
It's
Russell, I'm
beautiful.
just
Russell, do you
excited
write
you're
these
working
things
on
down?
book 3.
Yeah.
That was a nasty comment, Amy.
It was an honest comment.
I know,
He's been
that's
working
my
on book
makes me
3
feel
for
bad.
a while. So I'm glad that he is writing book 3. I've read his books. I've listened to his audiobooks. Peter, me and Russell and Valerie, we've been doing this for 9 years. We're all really good friends. And so I've listened to it. So I can give him a hard time that he's just now writing book 3 because I'm kind of waiting for this finale to happen. I've been waiting for a while.
Well,
So I'm excited.
this is where he comes in and writes down all these dreams so they can build the story.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so
Exactly.
I need to thank our listeners. We're top
Mhm.
10% on some podcast channels, top 1%. We've been around for 9 months, 9 years, and we're very humbled by people listening to us. When we first got on the podcast channels, I couldn't find us. I'm kind of a low tech boomer, as my wife says. But then Amy did some things, and even I can find us now. Amy, where can people find us?
Yeah, so you can find us anywhere that you can listen to a podcast. Amazon, Spotify, Good Pods, iTunes, Google Play are my go-to places to listen to us. If you want to watch us and engage with us, our YouTube channel, our Facebook group, any one of our social medias, we're all pretty open public people. So make sure you go on over there and engage with us. But let's get Peter talking about. So Peter, you have a new Roy Grace book coming out, The Hawk is Dead, and it comes out on the 21st. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So me and you met at Bookfest. I had the pleasure of interviewing you and talking to you, and it was just such a delightful conversation. And so
Thank you.
I actually went on, my mom has BritBox. I told my mom about your series on there. So me and her have been watching them together. So I'm super excited about this new book coming out in your series. Russell and Valerie don't know a whole lot about it. So if you could give us a rundown of your Roy Grace series just to catch them up, and then let's talk about The Hawk is Dead, because I have pre-ordered it. I'm waiting for it, and I'm so excited for it to come out. You've created a huge fan of me ever since our last conversation, so I'm super excited about it.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, so in brief snapshot, Roy Grace is a detective, a homicide detective in Brighton, which is a seaside city on the south coast of England. And when we first meet him in the first book in the series, which is called Dead Simple, we discovered he's got a missing wife called Sandy who vanished. He's coming up to his 39th birthday. She vanished on his 30th birthday 9 years earlier. And for 9 years, he's functioned as an effective homicide detective, but is dogged by the personal mystery of what happened to Sandy. And he's always idolized her, can't move on in a new relationship in case she suddenly turns up again. He doesn't know if she's kidnapped, murdered, had an accident, ran off with a lover, whatever. And then during the course of the series, The Hawk is Dead is the 21st in the series. Slowly, bit by bit, I seed a little bit more about Sandy, and I start to show the reader that maybe she wasn't quite the perfect wife that he actually idolized. That maybe she is still alive, and it progresses. And actually, 3 years ago, I wrote a book about her life called They Thought I Was Dead. And The Hawk is Dead came about, if I kind of wind the clock back to 2016, I got an email from a friend out of the blue. He said, whatever you're doing, stop doing it and go out and buy a copy of the Daily Mail newspaper. The Daily Mail is our kind of biggest circulation paper in the UK. So I went out and bought a copy, and there was a photograph of Camilla, then Duchess of Cornwall, sitting in her office with 2 Roy Grace novels behind her head on her bookshelf. And she said, Roy Grace, I was one of her 2 favorite authors. The other was Jane Austen. So I wrote her a letter saying, thank you so much. And very lovely of you to say that. And she wrote back to me a very chatty 2-page handwritten letter saying, I genuinely love these books. I've read every single one. And I started this kind of correspondence with her, and I would send her each new book, and she'd write back. She wrote back one time saying, I've just read the book on my flight to Australia. I'm now bereft because I got nothing to read on the way back. Very chatty. And then when we started filming Grace, she started when lockdown happened. She's a massive kind of book book buff, and she started what was then called the Duchess's Reading Room. Then it's now the Queen's Reading Room. It's a huge Instagram book club. And she takes an author and features them for two weeks. And she chose me as one of her for the first season, and she wanted to interview me. So she came down, we arranged it that she'd come down to the filming of Grace, and there was a scene down a local harbor near Brighton. I thought that would be a good, secure place. So she arrived, and we had this bizarre time in that royal visits are very prescribed. So we get the kind of memo which says 11:05 her helicopter lands at the local airport, 11:15 the car arrives at the harbor, 11:20 she will interview you for 30 minutes upstairs in the warehouse. Then she'll meet the cast, meet the crew. Then 12:10 she'll go back upstairs with her lady in waiting, have her lunch, and then she's off to the next appointment. So anyway, she arrived, and it was quite surreal. So we're upstairs in this warehouse, just on two metal chairs and a packing case between us. And she's interviewing me about Roy Grace, and she knows more than I do. And she loved the gruesome bits in particular. And anyhow, then we finished the interview, and I took her to meet the cast. She watched some of the filming, and then I said, I'll now leave you to be private. She said, no, come and join me. So I go back upstairs to the warehouse with her lady in waiting, and her lady in waiting opens a basket, a handbag, huge handbag. She takes out a thermos flask and a banana, which she gave to Camilla. And she handed me a ham and cheese sandwich. And I just sat there having this picnic lunch in this warehouse with her. It was wonderful, magical. And then she wrote me. Yeah, she's really good fun. She's very down to earth. And then she wrote me, she said, when are you going to set a Roy Grace novel in London? And I thought, well, if I was going to set one in London, Buckingham Palace would be the ideal place. But my detective is based in Sussex, so I had to kind of figure out a way how I was going to get into London. And I came up with an idea, and I sent it to her via a senior member of the royal household who I gotten to know. And he said, oh, she's in Kenya. HMQ is in Kenya at the moment. She'll back next week. I'll run it by her when she comes back. So a week later, he said, she laughed her head off, loved it. Just got to get it signed off now by Buckingham Palace Comms. And I thought, well, that's where it'll probably go and die. And 2 days later, he emailed me saying Buckingham Palace Comms said it's good to go. So I wrote the novel, and in it, I extensively have, and the novel starts off with the Queen coming on the royal train. The royal train is this extraordinary thing that the royal family have. It is going to be scrapped soon, but it's like a palace on wheels. It's like 8 carriages. It's got bedroom, it's got bathroom, dining room, office, sitting room, and they use it like a mobile hotel. So if they're on a 2 or 3 day tour, rather than have to go back to London to Buckingham Palace or Clarence House, they literally overnight they put it in a railway siding, and it's guarded, and then they carry on the next day. So I thought it would be a great start to the book if Royal Train was coming down to Brighton, and just a few miles north of Brighton, it's derailed in a tunnel. And the Queen is on it with all her entourage, and she's very brave, helping people off the train. And as they come out of the tunnel, a senior member of the royal household standing next to her is shot dead. And everyone thinks it's an assassination attempt on her, but except for Roy Grace, who comes to the scene, and he says, look, a sniper might miss by 4 inches, but this guy was standing 4 feet away. I don't think anybody would miss by 4 feet. And the kind of story progresses from there.
Wow. See, me and my mom are watching the television series in the Brit Box, right? So we've been watching them. And so I am very much determined. I read the books before I watch them, because everyone says the books are better than the shows, right? That's just how it is. But I enjoy both of them. I think both of them have their unique elements to it. But I mean, what an honor to see, the Queen have your books in the background. You got to meet with her and have a picnic lunch. I mean, you've had this whole thing and it got approved by Buckingham Palace. So what an honor to have that. And I'm just astonished that you're now at your 21st book. that's coming out, right? And you're continuing in this series. And so I am fascinated to know, and I feel like all of us generally kind of are, how did this idea start? Where, like, what was the dream that you had, like we were talking about earlier, or just the inclination that you had that, like, hey, I need to write this down, and then the story just keeps flowing for you and it's turned into 21 books?
How did the whole thing start, Roy Grace?
Yeah.
I guess I always wanted to be a writer, and I always liked the crime genre, but I always thought there was probably far too many people writing in it. And I was like, when I was back in 1980, I read an article. There was a shortage of spy thrillers. Ian Fleming had died, so I thought I could write a spy thriller. And to my amazement, so I wrote one. And to my amazement, I got an agent, and I got a 2-book deal. And to my even bigger amazement, it didn't sell. It wasn't very good. But anyway, it had just come out, and I just got married, and we got burgled. And a young detective came to the house, and he saw the book. And he said, "Oh, you're a writer." He said, "If you ever want research help with the police, give me a call." And he was married to a detective. And my then wife, who was a lawyer, and I became friends with them. And they invited us to a barbecue at the house that summer in 1981. And they had a dozen of their friends there, all cops. There was a homicide detective, a response officer, there was a police diver. And just talking to these guys, I thought, wow, from a writer's perspective, nobody sees more of human life in a 30-year career than a police officer. You know, they see everything. And when they realized I was genuinely interested, they started inviting me out to do a ride out with them, or spend a day in the office. And I switched from spies into writing initially supernatural, then psychological thrillers. And I started putting police characters more and more into the books, and they liked the way I portrayed them. And over the next sort of like 15 years, I slowly sort of became part of the family of Sussex Police. And they'd phone me up and they said, "We're doing a raid tomorrow. Do you want to come?" And they'd smuggle me into crime scenes. They'd sort of put on a baseball cap and dark glasses. And I was taking to some quite gruesome stuff. And then in 1997, I was introduced to a young homicide detective called David Gaylor. And I always remember going to his office, and I've never seen an office so untidy. It was every inch of the floor was covered in blue and green crates, bulging with manila folders. I could just see this balding dome at the back of the room. And I said, "Are you moving?" He said, "No." He said, I'm a homicide detective, and I've just been tasked with reopening all the unsolved murders in the county of Sussex, where there's still a chance of catching the offender. He said, each one of these files is the principal case file of an unsolved homicide. I'm the last chance the victim has for justice and the families have for closure. And I loved that very human image about him. And he said, "What are you writing at the moment?" And I was writing a psychological thriller called Denial. He said, "Tell me about it." So I started telling, I was about halfway through it, and I told him, he said, "Hang on a sec. Why is your detective not doing this? And why hasn't he gone outside inquiry and looked into that? And the lady, I don't think she'd do that. I think she'd do this." And I thought, wow, this guy's got a really creative streak in him. And we became friends, and he helped me a lot on that book, and then on the next novel I wrote. And then I was in Rome in 2002, and he'd just been promoted. We became sort of friends at this point, and he'd been promoted to basically head of homicide for Sussex. And I was in Rome in St. Mark's Square outside the Vatican, and my phone rang, and it was my agent. And she said, "Oh, Pan Macmillan Publishing House, they've just lost their #1 crime writer, Peter Robinson. He's moved to another publishing house, to HarperCollins. And they wondered if you've ever thought of creating a detective as a central character." So standing in St. Mark's Square outside the Vatican, I rang David, and I said, "How would you like to be a fictional cop?" And he absolutely loved the idea. And we've worked together on every Roy Grace novel. He reads like every 100, 150 pages, tells me how Roy Grace and the other police characters would think and act. And he's introduced me to cops around the world. And that's how it all sort of began.
I love so all of your stories you have like real experience in it. Like you had this experience, you met this detective, you got to go on ride-alongs, and then you met, and now you have friends, and your stories kind of evolved from real life personal experience. And so, I mean, I don't meet too many. Russell, Valerie, do you guys meet a lot of authors that write based on those kind of experiences? I don't. A lot of them come in like a dream and stuff. But what about you guys? Have you guys met? Are you guys like that? Russell.
I
Go
even
ahead.
even when I'm teaching writing to the kids, I'm like, I want them to be observant. I want them to pull from their own experiences. Even if we're doing fiction, it really builds on the story. Do you feel that too, Peter?
Absolutely, completely.
Mhm.
I think people who read are smart. Anyone who reads is intelligent. And I think when intelligent people read, they don't just want a page-turning story. They actually want to learn something about the author's wisdom, experience of life. I think authors generally get better and more successful the older they get. Um, I think that Alfred Hitchcock once joked. He said, "There's only three things an old man can do with dignity: conduct an orchestra, direct a motion picture, or write a novel." But
Yes.
there's a lot of truth in that, because I think if you look at the bestseller lists of the New York Times or the Sunday Times, any week of the year, a lot of and a high percentage of authors on those lists tend to be in like north of 50, 60, 70, 80, even 90. And so you've got the author's wisdom, plus people like to learn stuff. You don't necessarily need to know how to take an AK-47 together and put it back together. But I think there's a lot of stuff that we do like to learn about, what goes on, whether it's an operating theater or a court case. I think it's that. I mean, whenever I always believe there's a kind of, in writing, there's an inseparable trinity of three things, which is character, research, plot, in that order. Because I think we read books to find out what happens to characters that we engage with. They don't have to be nice people. I mean, Hannibal Lecter, Dracula, but it's characters that we admire in some way. Even the really nasty ones. If there's something that we can kind of root for a monster. It's
Yeah,
very
and I do feel too, like you were saying, that in the character development, we're showing the characters' faults, their positives, their insights, their travels through this story, and then drawing the reader in to learn about this person, but also connect with their story, how they're proceeding to solve the mystery, or get better in this relationship, or whatever it is. It's all in the character development.
completely. So I think that is absolutely the most important thing. Second is research, because if the reader doesn't think you, the author, know what you're talking about. And I'll give you an example. There was a book written by an American author some years ago that I got sent to give a puff for. And we have a ring road around London called the M25. It's known as the world's biggest parking lot because it's permanently clogged up and jammed, but it just goes round London. And I was reading, I got about 4 or 5 chapters in, and then this guy has a guy driving up the M25 towards Birmingham. I thought, you could be on the M25 for 5 years and you ain't going to get to Birmingham. You're just going to go keep running round and round. I thought, he's not looked at a map. I thought, am I going to invest any more of my time reading this guy? No, never. I put the book down. So research is vital. You don't need every detail of nugget of say an assassin taking apart and putting back together an AK-47, but you need to know the author knows how it could be done. You need to have that kind of confidence. And plot, I always put plot third, and plot is important. But if you don't care about the characters, if you don't believe the author knows their subject, plot doesn't. You have the best plot in the world, people won't read on.
Russell, did you have a question?
I have two questions. Number one, I noticed when I was reading your Wikipedia that all your auto sports adventures came before any of your riding. So, would you tell us a bit about your auto sports? And number two, would you explain the significance of your helmets behind your back and what those mean to you?
Sure. Regarding the helmets, I collect police memorabilia. Helmets. I've got battens above me. I don't know if I can see that. You can't see those probably.
Mhm.
I've got uniforms. Police. Police around the world, wherever I travel on book promotion, I always try to meet police. And go out with them. I've been out with police in Moscow where I've been shot at. I've been out with police in the States in a number of occasions and many countries. And they kind of know I collect stuff. So often when police officers retire, they send me their badges or their hats or their batons or even whole uniforms. I love it. So I kind of, when I'm writing, I'm like immersed in all this sort of memorabilia all around me.
That's very
Yeah,
cool.
motorsport. I've always been what they call in England a petrol head. I'm not sure what the word is in the States, but I love racing, and I think because for me writing is very sedentary. I'm sure it's the same with you guys. You know, we sit a long time, very very stationary. So I love the adrenaline rush of. My publishers would rather I took up something more sedentary. I think I had a big accident in 2013, a week before my new book came out, and I was quite hard doing book tour, and I was on crutches, but I love it. It's always been in my kind of DNA, I think.
So, what is
We do
your
race an American
best
car,
story?
by the way. I raced a 1962 Corvette. It's an absolutely beautiful wagon.
What is your best story from racing? Who have you met someone special, or have you been in a particular race that you can't forget more than any other? What's your best story?
My best,
You're a great storyteller.
thank you. I guess well, probably my most spectacular was when I rolled a car 4 times in a race.
Oh my gosh.
At night, I was doing 95 miles an hour when I went over, and I had the title of my new book. I used to always have the title of my book on the back of the car, and this had Dead Man's Time. And the car ended up planted in gravel at the side of the circuit, and it was a real wreck. And I was quite a wreck inside it. I was, and the marshal helped me get out of the car. Pointed at the back of it, and he said, "Obviously not your time, mate."
Yes, maybe you shouldn't do that anymore. Put
I,
that type of title on the back of your car. I'm not saying you shouldn't race. You should absolutely race.
but not put dead on the car.
Right. That's kind of a thing. Was it a green car? You know, you're not supposed to be driving green race cars.
Now, tell me why you say green. I'm really interested in this.
Well, because that's kind of a thing in America. You don't paint your race cars green. It's bad.
I am fascinated by this because I have always been
Okay.
superstitious about green cars. And of course, the British racing color is British racing green. And
Yes,
so
it's a
one of
beautiful
the,
color.
but I, back in about 1974, I bought a green sports car. And friends of mine in theater said, "Why the hell have you bought a green car? That is really unlucky." And my whole life fell apart at that time. It was quite weird. A friend of mine borrowed it. I nearly went bankrupt. The film I was working on at that time was a total disaster. Everything that could go wrong in my life went wrong. And
You shouldn't have green cars.
well, it's not just green. I'm freaky about green. I even cut the crocodiles off Lacoste t-shirts.
Mm.
I won't have. I literally won't wear anything green. It's like uh, I won't even cook with a green utensil. It's It's, and yet
That's
I
funny.
like the color. I mean, it looks really nice on you, that color, Amy. And your walls have a greeny tinge, Valerie, and it's a lovely color, but I don't know what it is. It's just something. I mean, superstitions are a weird thing. I did not know this about American race cars not being green. But
Yeah,
now
it's a thing. It's why you never see it.
you're absolutely right. I mean, I watched a little bit of NASCAR and stuff. I've never seen never noticed a green car go around.
Well,
Hmm.
in the American version of The Office, there's a great famous line where Michael, who is the head of the office, says, "I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious." That's me.
I love that. I'm just trying to find a picture while we're talking. I'm just a little stitious. I love it.
I'm just a
Yeah.
little stitious.
I didn't know about the green either. I mean, on race
Me
cars, I
either.
guess it makes sense. But I mean, because then I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, well, my walls are green, and my hair is green, and I have a green shirt on, and I was like, well, I don't know, maybe I don't know. I'm gonna switch to red now. Now I'm gonna switch to red, not walls. That
Please
would be
don't.
terrible.
Please don't.
I don't know, Amy. Amy, I had green all over my house, and now I'm in the blue mode. So
Right, I know. I
Oh,
switch.
that's my Corvette.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
That's a serious classic vet
Yeah,
Mhm.
with a 83
Ooh,
yeah,
engine.
yeah.
That's very
that's
impressive.
beautiful. I love that.
I love it to bits. Yeah,
Does it have a row bar in it?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
My race partner crashed it quite badly last year, but it's being fixed at the moment.
And does your wife or significant other bring up your crashes when they're mad at you and they're saying mean things? Do they bring up your crashes?
She's pretty good because we when I first met Lara, she knew I love racing, so she got a race license too, and we did a few races together.
Okay, so that's excellent.
And she did it,
Because
and then she had a bit of a nasty crash herself, so she kind of gets the significance of a crash.
right. Well, that's important.
She's a really good driver. We
So,
want to
what do you have coming up next?
race wise.
No, I'm talking about book wise.
I've
We're
got
getting close to the end, and I have to get you back to
sure. So I've got
talking about your book.
The Hawk is Dead is coming out on October 21, and then I'm working on the next Roy Grace, which will be out next year. But what I've got coming out in 2027 is a book I've been working on for several years, which is hopefully my equivalent to Stephen King's book on writing.
Mhm.
I've always wanted to write a book about writing, and I always thought Stephen King's was probably one of the best books on it because it was a combination of autobiography and writing. So I've got to do a lot of edit on it, but that'll be out sometime in 2027, and I'm really excited about that.
That's beautiful.
I love it. You
Yeah.
mentioned that you're going on a book tour, right? It's a month
Mhm.
long and it starts next week. So
Yeah.
tell us all about that because book tours, in my experience, but I deal mostly with indie or self published authors, are a hit or miss in terms of success. So tell us just kind of it's a month long one, so it's super long. So kind of just tell us a little bit about your book tour coming up and where, certain places that people can find you.
I go literally all over kind of England, part of the UK. You can find it on my website on peterjames.com. That's got the whole list of all my appearances. I love it. I love getting out and meeting public. I do a lot of signings in supermarkets. I think the worst thing for an author signing is the invention of the mobile phone camera. Because in the old days, you'd sit there and you'd just sign books. Now everybody wants a selfie. Do you mind to have a selfie, dear? And then you get some sweet little old lady, and she says, would you mind taking it and pass it to somebody standing behind her? And then the person behind her goes, I can't see anything on the screen. She goes, oh, you daft guy, you turned it off. oh, hang on a sec. I can't remember the password. It's in my handbag.
Okay, you're killing me,
Got a
Peter.
cute
This is
son
so
of you.
funny. We should have started the show with this.
But that's so fun though. That's a fun time.
Yeah. It's actually nice getting out of
Mhm.
your man cave sometimes as well, woman cave, and just actually meeting. But I learn a lot from doing book events. You know, I get people, they'll be in a kind of bookstore queue and they'll come up and say, oh, say, I'm I'm an intensive care nurse, and you've got that scene in your last book, and they don't use that kind of ventilator anymore. It's now replaced. So I'll then say, okay, next time I write a scene that's taking place in a ITU, could I send you the chapter or the pages? And they say, sure. So I kind of built up a great network of research just from doing book events.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's the best thing that any author can do, right? Is leverage your readers because they generally, in a sense, want to be along for the ride. They're invested in it, right? And
Yeah,
so feedback and stuff is great. But I love how you utilize that. I mean, just like at the beginning of how your series started, you would go on ride-alongs and you became friends with this detective, and you've kind of molded that into it. But you kind of just experiences and feedback that people give you, you leverage and put those into your book, which I think is what makes you an astounding author. Obviously, you've won a lot of awards, UK #1 bestseller, and all other ones, accolades that you've won. But I think just having that realism and listening to reader feedback and things like that and offering to give them pages so when they're included, I think that really separates and kind of has led and kind of fed to your success in doing that. Not many authors do that. I don't encounter that. So it's refreshing to hear about it.
thank you. It's funny. I mean, I'm sure people love to pick anything you get wrong as well.
Yes.
Even like, dear Mr. James, page 147. Brass does not rust; it corrodes.
Oh, yeah. Nitpicker. See, I wouldn't know the difference. I would just, be like, oh, this sounds great. I don't know. I don't sit on Google all day and do that. But I think it feeds to it. There's all kinds. But I love how you listen to feedback, especially at these events, and you turn them into a positive. And you have patience with people with the selfies because I totally understand that 100%. I had to figure out how to pay with my phone the other day, and I've never felt so old in my life that this kid was laughing at me trying to walk me through it. So I can understand and appreciate the
Peter,
patience
that
that you
was
have.
months ago she's talking about. She
And
just
I have
hasn't gotten
nailed it
over
now.
it. It's
I haven't.
pathetic.
I'm in my 30s, okay? I'm in my 30s and I just now figured out how to pay with my phone. It was a whole thing, Peter. It was a whole thing.
Sometimes you don't need to do it. You just come upon a situation and then you adapt, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm telling you. But your new book, The Hawk is Dead, comes out on the 21st. Your tour starts next week. Is that right? For a whole
Starts on
month?
Friday. Starts on Friday this week. Yeah.
Oh, exciting. Well, I am excited for you, Peter. I'm so grateful that you came on to talk to us. I'm waiting for your book. I'm supposed to have it by the 23rd. Fingers crossed that I get it on the 23rd. But I'm excited to keep seeing where your series goes. And I am enjoying the BritBox TV series of your books. And so I'm just grateful to talk to you again. It was so much fun last time, and it's always a fun conversation. So thanks for coming on and hanging out and talking to us about your upcoming book.
Thank you. Great to see you guys, and good luck with your writing, everyone, as well.
And be careful.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to meet you.
You too, Valerie. Take care, Russ.
Awesome.
Thanks, Amy.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Well, I hope everybody has a fantastic Monday, a great rest of your week. And until next time, bye for now, everybody.